Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here, and today we are going to be continuing our series on moral letters to Lucilius. This is Seneca's letters. If you're not familiar with Seneca, very famous Stoic philosophy is something that I highly subscribe to. It's something that is going to make you a person who is able to ride the waves of fortune and fate, and to be able to be a lot more level-headed in life and to accept all of the bad and good things that happen in life without you getting all knocked off of your pedestal or your path in life. So it's really a really important concept. If you are interested in this, definitely stay tuned for this video, but make sure you click the playlist here for all the letters. I'm going through all the letters of Seneca's moral letters to Lucilius and giving some commentary. I know they're a little bit difficult to understand. I'm giving you my best interpretation of these and some of the wisdom that I've garnered from them throughout my life. Also, make sure you click the subscribe button below so you don't miss any of these videos. All right, so we're going to get into it today and this is letter 8, which is called On the Philosopher's Seclusion. So he says, 1, do you bid me, you say, shun the throng, and withdraw from men, and be content with my own conscience? Where are the counsels of your school, which order a man to die in the midst of active work? As to the course which I seem to you to be urging on you now and then, my object in shutting myself up and locking the door is to be able to help a greater number. I never spend a day in idleness. I appropriate even a part of the night for study. I do not allow time for sleep, but yield to it when I must, and when my eyes are wearied with waking and ready to fall shut, I keep them at their task. So what he's saying here, is basically he is withdrawing himself, right, from everyone else, right? To go into seclusion to some degree, to study, to make sure that he's devoting his time to his own thought, right? The philosophy, right? A lot of philosophy is really just thought, is spending a lot of time thinking about things, right? If you really want to gain wisdom in life, one of the best things that you can do is to just spend a lot of time in quiet contemplation, thinking about scenarios, thinking about things, spending a lot of time with yourself and not in interactions with other people. What happens is you think about these things, you pre-think about these things, and then when those scenarios come up in life, you already have an answer for them, right? So this is what Seneca's talking about here. Was saying, do you bid me, you say, shun the throng and withdraw from men and be content with my own conscience, right? And being content with your own conscience is also another very important Stoic idea, is that, I did this video a while back on you're always going to be alone, right? And, it's got some mixed reactions. You should check out the video. But essentially, this is an important concept, is this idea that you have to be comfortable with yourself and realize that you don't need you don't need all these other people. It's good to have relationships and people in your life, but you have to be okay with yourself, right? Some people would call this loving yourself, and to a degree that's what it is, but it's also just being content, being okay, in your own company. A lot of people can't stand their own company. They don't like who they are, and so they can't stand to be alone. Number 2, I have withdrawn not only from men, but from affairs, especially from my own affairs. I am working for later generations, writing down some ideas that may be of assistance to them. There are certain wholesome counsels which may be compared to prescriptions of useful drugs. These I am putting into writing, for I have found them helpful in ministering to my own sores, which, if not wholly cured, have at any rate ceased to spread. This passage echoes with me. This is what I'm doing here on YouTube, I'm writing down, I'm essentially creating videos for the drugs that have helped me in my life with my own sores. And I'm not professing to be perfect, right? I don't have the absolute cure-all for everything, but I'm giving you something. I'm showing you, okay, well, I've patched up this area of my life. I've figured out some of these things. I've gained some wisdom in this area, and at least I'm not getting worse, right? I'm progressively, hopefully, getting better, but I'm giving you that, right? And it's the same thing he's saying here with his philosophy. As he's writing this down, he's spending this time, right? He's giving you the playbook of his life, right? And that's the key there. And it'll also influence how you think about life. When you think about, like, through the lens of creating YouTube videos, of writing books, I've written books, I've done, of sharing. I've been a teacher for a long time in many aspects. I see life a little bit differently because I think about the lessons that I'm going to learn from it and what I'm going to share. And it sort of helps you to actually learn more from your experiences. Number 3, I point other men to the right path which I have found late in life, when wearied with wandering. I cry out to them, avoid whatever pleases the throng, avoid the gifts of chance, halt before every good which chance brings to you, in a spirit of doubt and fear, for it is the dumb animals and fish that are deceived by tempting hopes. Do you call these things the gifts of fortune? They are snares, and any man among you who wishes to live a life of safety will avoid, to the utmost of his power, these limited twigs of her favor, by which we mortals, most wretched in this respect also, are deceived. For we think that we hold them in our grasp, but they hold us in theirs. All this shit that that comes in your life, all this good stuff, fame, fortune, all this stuff that is coming through fate, right? That is not like something that you've built inside, right? All these external things, they're great, but the thing is, if you value these things and you expect them, those are the things that can be taken away from you, because easy gain, easy loss, right? If fate brings that into your life, you can lose it. You can lose fame, you can lose fortune, you can lose so many things that are externally brought into your life. But the internal, the philosophy that you build up, right? The internal character that you build up, that doesn't go away, right? When you have that mindset and you believe that it's all gravy, you're not attached to those things. You're not controlled by those things. If they're in your life, it's great. If they're not, it's gone. It's fine, right? The same thing with the relationships. Very, very important concept. We're not going to get into that right now. But number 4, such a career leads us into the precipitous ways, and life on such heights ends in a fall. Moreover, we cannot even stand up against prosperity when she begins to drive us to leeward, nor can we go down either with the ship at least on her course, or once for all. Fortune does not capsize us. She plunges our bows under and dashes us on the rocks. So he's painting, quite a nasty picture of fortune here, which, again, if you are living your life based on the highs and lows of external influences, like the things that come into your life, you have to realize that fortune, she may favor you one day, but she's gonna fucking crash your ship into the rocks and destroy you another day. If you're counting on that, it's a bad place to be, because you're gonna be destroyed. Your life is gonna be utterly destroyed. So instead, you need to base your life on, again, the spiritual growth, the character growth, the things that cannot be taken away, the things that are within your control, which is your mind, right, your heart, right, rather than fortune, rather than things that can be easily come into your life or removed from your life. Because someday, it doesn't matter what happens, someday fortune will harm you. She will, she's not just going to capsize you, she's going to plunge your bows under and dash you on the rocks, okay? 5, he says, hold fast then to the sound and wholesome rule of life, that you indulge the body only so far as is needed for good health. The body should be treated more rigorously, that it may not be disobedient to the mind. Eat merely to relieve your hunger, drink merely to quench your thirst, dress merely to keep out of the cold. House yourself merely as a protection against personal discomfort. It matters little whether the house be built of turf or of variously colored imported marble. Understand that a man is sheltered just as well by a thatch as by a roof of gold. Despise everything that useless toil creates as an ornament and an object of beauty, and reflect that nothing except the soul is worthy of wonder, for the soul, if be great, naught is great. Don't waste your time, right? Eat when you're hungry, drink to quench your thirst, right? Dress to keep out of the cold. He's saying avoid the extravagant, right? Because you're going to toil, you're going to work for all this stuff, just ornamentation. And, a thatch roof is just as protecting from the cold as a gold roof. Now, obviously, times have changed and you can have more comfort with air conditioning and insulation and whatnot. But at the same time, seeking the very extravagant doesn't benefit you anything, but you have to toil and work hard for that. Number 6, when I commune in such terms with myself and the future and with future generations, do you not think that I am doing more good than when I appear as counsel in court, or stamp my seal upon a will, or lend my assistance in the Senate, by word or action, to a candidate? Believe me, those who seem to be busied with nothing are busied with the greater tasks. They are dealing at the same time with things mortal and things immortal. He's saying that all the kind of, political shit that goes on, that's not as important as his real work, his philosophy, his deep thinking. It seems like he's doing nothing, but that's actually the really important things. He's asking the really important questions in life. Most people don't have time to do the really important work in their own lives because they're too busy doing the quote important life or important work, right? You think about your job, and when you go to your job, what are you actually fucking doing? Like, what actual benefit are you actually conveying? I mean, you're essentially like doing what they're telling you. Yeah, maybe, I'm not saying that there's not impactful things you could do in the world at your job, but for the most part, most of us are just like making a cog in the wheel, making the system run, and then we're just getting a paycheck, right? And we think that's important, but what's really important is the deep thought. It's the philosophy. It's what you create in your life and what you think about, and the actually thinking about the deep questions in life. That's actually what's really important and beneficial. 7, but I must stop and pay my customary contribution to balance this letter. The payment shall not be made from my own property, for I am still conning Epicurus. I read today in his works the following sentence: if you would enjoy real freedom, you must be the slave of philosophy. The man who submits and surrenders himself to her is not kept waiting. He is emancipated on the spot. For the very service of philosophy is freedom. By some constraint, by having discipline, you're actually going to be more free. By being a more disciplined person, a slave to philosophy, as he says, which means to go deep into thought, to rationalize and think about your actions, right? To devote yourself to an inner study, to study of people and yourself. You're actually going to have more freedom, right? Because you're going to operate at a different level. You're going to operate at a higher level. Let's go on to number 8 here. 8. It is likely that you will ask me why I quote so many of Epicurus' noble words instead of words taken from our own school. So what he's talking about here is that like Epicurus was a competing school, not the Stoic philosophy. There's a lot of competing schools at this time, almost like some people would consider an enemy, right? So it's kind of interesting that he does this, right? That it shows you how objective he is. But is there any reason why you should regard them as sayings of Epicurus and not common property? How many poets give forth ideas that have been uttered or may be uttered by philosophers? I need not touch upon the tragedians and or writers of national drama, for these last are also somewhat serious and stand halfway between comedy and tragedy. What a quantity of sagacious verses lie buried in the mind! How many of Publius his lines are worthy of being spoken by buskin-clad actors as well as by wearers of the slipper. 9, I shall quote one verse of his which concerns philosophy, and particularly that phase of it which we were discussing a moment ago, wherein he says that the gifts of chance are not to be regarded as part of our possessions. Still alien is whatever you have gained by coveting. Ideas are ideas. They don't belong to anyone, all right? And so, why should we say, oh, well, Epicurus said this, so, we're going to ignore this? No, it's ideas are ideas. Like, the universal truths in life will be repeated by many different people. Wisdom is wisdom, and many people are going to speak it, so it doesn't matter where the source is. We can't attribute, wisdom to a person, right? Wisdom is revealed by a person, but that person didn't come up with the wisdom. The wisdom was baked into the world, right? It's part of the natural law. Number 10, I recall that you yourself expressed this idea much more happily and concisely. What chance has made yours is not really yours. Again, think about that. What chance has made yours is not really yours. We talked about this earlier in the letter, that what fortune brings into your life is not really yours. What you grow inside internally, as you develop yourself, as you develop your character, that is yours. But some money comes into your life, some relationships come into your life, some status comes into your life, power, all these things, they're not really yours. What chance has brought into it, it's not really yours. Okay, it's only the things that you can actually repeat, that come from within you, that are actually yours. And he says, and a third spoken by you still more happily shall not be omitted. The good that could be given can be removed. Same concept here, right? If something can be given to you, it can also be taken from you. So think about that. When things come into your life, you have to have a loose grip on them. You can't say, oh, well, this is mine now, right? Because it can be taken from you. And if you have that understanding, then you'll appreciate the things when they come into your life. And you won't try to grasp onto them so hard, right? And fear losing them, which will destroy the enjoyment of them. Again, we could go right back up to still alien is whatever you have gained by coveting. Same concept here, right? Because you coveted that thing and you gained it, you still have the fear. You have the fear of the loss, and you don't get the enjoyment out of it. He ends this by saying, I shall not charge this up to the expense account because I have given it to you from your own stock. Farewell. So he's repeated back to Lucilius some of these quotes that Lucilius said, which is an interesting way to teach someone, is to give them their own words, to give them their own wisdom. A lot of wisdom, a lot of teaching is really just reminding people of stuff they already know, right? If you look at a lot of my videos, a lot of the topics, you'll say, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. It's common sense, but I'm gently reminding you of something that you already know this stuff. You already know this stuff. You just haven't thought on it. You haven't dwelled on it, and you haven't formed a conscious thought about it. And when it comes up to the conscious, then we understand it better, right? So to tell something to someone that they already know, common sense, basic wisdom, right? Is not, to some degree it looks like, oh, well, that's just like duh, but it's very effective. It's very powerful. Because it's something that the person already knows intrinsically to be true, but now you're bringing it to the forefront so they think about it and they actually make changes in their lives based on that. So, all right, that's all I have for you today. I've actually got to run here. I'm actually a little bit late, but I wanted to finish up that letter. Make sure that you click the subscribe button below and click the bell so you don't miss any videos coming up here, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.